Hi everyone, it's Nicole, and I'm back with what I read, the album that I'm doing for 2020. Now, I decided to do two albums this year. One is in sort of a planner, and then the other one is a 12 by 12. In the 2 or 3 previous years that I did this, I did it in a mini album that was 6 by 8. But I found that at the end of the year, the album was quite chunky. So this year I decided to do in a 12 by 12. And I think I'm just going to keep doing it in the 12 by 12. And the ones that I'm doing in that journal, I'll just do that on my own time. I just like having that Bookworm Life journal or planner. And I just like having all the books that I read in there too, but I don't feel like I need to do both on YouTube. Like I don't need to do the process for both for the same books. So this is what I read in March. Now, before I turn the camera on, this is what I did. I went on Goodreads. I think I was at book 19 the last time I did this. So I went from book 20 to 61 to make it till the end of August. I clicked on the book, and then it's like you take a picture of your screen, you size it up, and then you have it on your phone. Then I went on my PicFrame app, and I put 2 photos per photo or per frame. And I chose the size 4:3 or the ratio 4:3, and it makes it so that the photos fit on a 3x4 card. Then I went and grabbed one of my Project Life kits, which I believe it was the Kiwi edition. What I do is per month, I just choose a different edition. I don't go from edition to edition to edition. I just make it so that I just use the one edition. And then I chose cards for all my pictures, and then I glued them on. At the beginning of the year, I stamped out all the books, like the number of the books on a white cardstock. So now all I have to do is cut them out. So I did all that, and now I'm starting to embellish each card. I took out some of my viewfinders, some of my labels, and I'm just making some little embellishment clusters. So the first book that I read in March was Hero at the Falls, and that is by Alwyn Hamilton. And that was the finale to a trilogy. And it's about this girl, and she's known as a gunslinger, and she basically has to save the day, save their world. And in the third book, she's got to save the prince. It was fast-paced. It was heartbreaking. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved that book. Now, the second book that I'm working on the clusters right now wasn't necessarily the second book I read this month. But like I said, I'm a little rusty. I haven't done this in a few months. So normally I do them in the order, but I was just kind of picking up whatever and just working on it. But that is called Once a King, and that is by Aaron Summerall. And this book was part of a series, but it was sort of a standalone. It followed one of the characters, Git-R-Done, who was in the first 2 books. The arc of the story, the main story, finished with book number 2. It was only supposed to be a 2-book series, but then she put in 1/3 book. And this one, it follows the king that was also in the first 2 books, but now it really follows him and what happens to him after sort of the end of the book series. And now it's about his life and sort of, the struggles that he has to go through, but also a love interest. It wasn't as good as the first 2 books, but I still enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I would recommend the series. It was highly full of action and really interesting. The next book that I read was Supernova by Marissa Meyer. Again, this was the end to a trilogy. I was really good at finishing up series in March. And this is about heroes and villains. And I loved it. It was 5 stars, lots of action. Again, heartbreaking some parts, but highly recommend. Love Marissa Meyer, 5 stars. The next book that I read was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. And I have to say, I wasn't as excited about this book as everybody else was. I think it was okay. It's an adult contemporary where you follow Chloe and Red, and it's a love to hate story. She has some disabilities. Like I said, it was a cute story. Not one of my favorite. I gave it between 3.5 stars. It was okay. Again, didn't fall in love with it as a lot of people did. The next book I read was Finnegan of the Rock by Melina Marchetta. And oh my goodness, I love this story. This was a 5-star read for me. It's a young adult fantasy about a royal family, and everyone gets murdered at the beginning of the book. It's on, the synopsis. And then it's 10 years later, and they're still trying to kind of get their kingdom back. And it's about Finnegan and his journey to try to get the kingdom back. It's action-packed. Love the characters. This is a 3-book series, but each book, the arc of the story finishes. So the next book, it's still about a character that was in this book. It's Froyle of the Exile, but the story arc finished in this. So if you like fantasies that wrap up, this wrapped up, and then the next book has a different story arc. Now, the next book I read was Dear Adam by Kelsey Stelting. This is a young adult contemporary about a bad boy who starts writing an advice column because he has to do it for school. They said, for his marks and stuff. And it's a love to hate story. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.75, 4 stars. It was really cute, quick read. The next book I read was Throw Like a Girl by Sarah Henning. This I really liked. I gave it 4 stars. It's about Liv, who gets kicked off the softball team and her school for fighting. So she has to go to a new school and gets recruited by the football team. So cute. Enjoyed it. Gave it 4 stars. The next book I read was Wild at Heart by K.A. Tucker. This is the second book to The Simple Wild. And, it's Kala and Jonah in Alaska, and their story continues. And my favorite parts are the goats and the dogs and the grumpy neighbor. Loved that story. Gave it 5 stars. The next book I read was Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. And again, that duo authors, I love all their books. I know a lot of people didn't love this book, but I loved it. It was a second chance story. They met when they were teenagers. Something goes wrong, and they don't talk to each other again until they're adults, and they meet again. So it's a second chance. And I gave it 5 stars. It was entertaining. I read through it really quickly. So I read 10 books in March. I can't believe it. I didn't think I read that much. I've definitely slowed down quite a bit the rest of the month. I think April I read 10 books too, but June and July I didn't read as much. And I think it's because I've been so busy. But I've enjoyed a lot of the books that I read in the month of March. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars books. So half of my books were 5-star reads. So I absolutely loved it. And because it's in a 12 by 12, I end up with more space than I need. So I look in my planner and look for some phrases that I can just put as sort of like space fillers. So my first card, I'm going to put reading is magical. And I just use some of my tiny letters that are available on our website. It's a digital file that you can print and you can use them over and over again. And then the second card, I decided to use the name of the planner, and it's called the Bookworm Life, and it kind of fits for someone that loves reading and, you know, obviously does videos or keeps a tab of all the books that she reads in a month. So I would say that is pretty much a bookworm life. So for this card, I had these, they're almost like rubber letters, and I'm going to spell bookworm with those. And I didn't have any O's, but I had 3 Q's, so I just cut the little tail off, and then I was able to write the word bookworm. And again, with my tiny letters, I'm going to write the and life. So it's going to be the Bookworm Life. So that's going to complete the month of March. And just to let you know, I printed the photos for all the months. So my plan is to get April, May, June, and July done this month so that I am caught up, because I am the type of person that if I let something go for too long, it's not going to get done. So I need to really get on this and get this done. And I'm going to try in September to finish my 2019 December daily. I'm almost done. I think I have like 5 or 6 days left. So I need to get that done too before it's time to start working on 2020. But that's it. As soon as I was done, I just cut little strips of little white paper so that I could put my cards on it. And the reason that I do that is because my holes are 4x6 and I didn't want the cards to slide one underneath the other. This way they'll stay nicely one beside the other. And then when I do April, I just glue them directly on the back of the existing cards. So that's it. That's going to complete March. I'm glad I'm back into it. Hopefully the next one won't take me 2 hours to put together. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.